Hello everyone, Vampirora here. Today I have with me Auguste Semmler Massonnat, also known as Semmler the Riot. He is one of the most recognizable personalities in the Counter-Strike scene, where he works as a caster mainly. So hello Auguste, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, man. It's actually sunny out for
Really?
once in Stockholm, in this weird place that I live where it decides to be sunny and rainy every 10 minutes, differing. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a weird few days, man.
Awesome. Okay, so we had a small introduction about you, but could you tell me a bit more about yourself?
I'm a professional commentator. I've been doing it for about nearly 6 years now. That is my job to talk about Counter-Strike Global Offensive right now. I've founded a brand called OnFire with my co-commentator Anders roughly, 2-3 years ago now. And we're creating content through there and bringing other talent together through there. And it's kind of just like a content production house more than anything. And so those are my two main projects that I'm involved in right now.
Do you have any other outside the Counter-Strike, any hobbies, anything you'd like to do on your free time?
Read a lot. Really just right now I'm trying to figure it out, man, because what you don't really realize is when you start this job, you think, oh, traveling, yeah, it's going to be good. Like, I want to travel a lot. But after the first couple of years of doing it, you realize that the more time you spend on the road, the less time you actually have to have outside occupations, like hobbies that would require me to be in Stockholm for long periods of time aren't actually possible or regular, right? I was involved with kendo for a while, and I started to go to the club here, which was a lot of fun until I realized that I got ahead of myself, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to do this every week. It's going to be sick. It was during a down period where, we had a month at home, but then sure enough, once the tournament circuit picks up again, I haven't been back since, so it's just like, it's hard to get like those kinds of hobbies going. So really what I try and do now is read and find hobbies that I can do in hotel rooms
Awesome.
that I can take with me on the road.
So favorite book so far?
Oh man, that's hard. I absolutely adore the Dune series. I've read and reread it now recently. And the Dune series to me is fascinating. Another one that I picked up that I was really surprised by, despite the fact that it's had very good reviews and that it's seen as one of the best sci-fi novels ever, is The Star's My Destination by Bester.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, if I can recommend any book that I've read in the past 3 months to anybody, it's that book. The Star's My Destination. Fantastic. I read it, I devoured it in like 2 days because I couldn't put it down once I started it. It was that good. So luckily I was traveling to London when that happened, so I had plenty of plane time to just sit there and read. And usually, you read for 10 minutes and then I go out like a light as soon as the plane takes off. I just, knock out and then I'll wake up eventually. But this time I was just like, nope, just read through the whole flight, read in the taxi, read in the train, just kept reading the whole time I was there because it was so good. So if I can recommend one book right now that I've read, it's The Star's My Destination by Bester. I think it's
Awesome.
Alfred Bester. I can't remember his first name, but Bester. If you look for that, you'll find it.
We have to look out for that one, to read it already. So does your nickname have any special meaning or significance? How did you come up with it?
That's from a book called The Dogs of War by Frederick Forsyth. And I was reading that maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Another
And I
book.
can't. Pardon me?
Another book.
Yeah. A lot of my I take a lot away from books. I love books. So I'm lucky that my mom had a very firm belief in libraries as churches.
Awesome.
And that's where we went to worship when I was a kid, like you go to the library, you get your library card and you get books. And so I've been reading essentially my whole life. But that book, I mean, at the time I needed a name for a WoW character because my friend had gotten me into WoW all of a sudden, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. I finally cracked, and I was like, oh, I'll try it, fine, okay. And then, I was looking around, and I was like, I like rogues. Rogues are cool. And then I was reading this book, which is about mercenaries essentially operating in, I believe, in Africa, Northern Africa. And one of them was called Semmler. I was like, I'll take that name. I like that name. So turns out it's an actual very common German name, which I didn't realize, obviously, where the Semmler the Riot came from, because every time I tried to create an account somewhere that was called Semmler, some German guy had taken it already. Sound. So yeah, Semmler, it comes from a very good book. I recommend that as well. Forsyth was a very controversial but interesting person, prolific writer, came up with a bunch of crazy shit, but also survived some very interesting times in Great Britain's history. So I'd say if you guys want to look into him as well, it's worth it.
Sounds interesting. Okay, so how did it all start? When was the time that you knew that you want to do esports?
It was about the time when I was playing WoW, and my PC died, and so I had to figure out where or how to keep playing, because at the time I was very much into raiding, and I was a very hardcore raider. And so I was like, well, emergency time, where the fuck can I go to actually keep, raiding so I don't get kicked from the guild? And so the local PC bang, the last one in LA or West LA that was still open, and it happened to be just like 4 blocks up from my office at the time as well. So I could work during the day and then just drive 2 minutes, be at the PC bang, set everything up, and raid, right? And so I made a great group of friends. I'm still in touch with a couple of them, right, from that PC bang, and we all play. They were also, there was a few very hardcore arena players there, right? And so I started to get into arena, and so the competition there interested me, right? It was 3v3, and we did Rogue Mage Priest, right? I played the Rogue, and we had a lot of fun with it, right? But then this game showed up called Bloodline Champions, and none of us had heard of it before. But when we saw the trailer for it, we were just like, right, that's what we're going to play now. That's it. Because basically BLC is like WoW Arena 3v3, but with no RNG bullshit. And so it was all about, it's all WASD with your mouse to aim and move top down, but you had abilities that all had to be aimed. And so there was no, and they all did fixed amounts of damage as well. And so it was just all about, could you outplay your opponents with teamwork, individual skill, coordination? All these things had to come together with BLC to be able to win a round, right? And so we just got addicted to that. That was it. As soon as I touched BLC, it was in closed beta at the time. I managed to get into it, and that was like, you basically every week was just waiting for the beta day to play that goddamn game, right? And so I would try and compete, but unfortunately, BLC being a really small game at the time, it was a small Swedish bunch of students, basically. BLC at the core was their graduation project. And then they managed to work with the school, and they got some help from the school, and they were able to then they graduated and then formed Stonelock Studios and kept working on BLC. And eventually, I believe with Funcom, they managed to publish the game. And so but that says that they had limited means. And so the servers at the time were all East Coast in the States or Europe. So just to East Coast, I would get like 80 ping, 90 ping, right? If I tried to play Europe, it was over. So I was just like, I couldn't, I felt like at the time I was being held back just by geography. And so I was like competing as best I could. But as soon as I would get knocked out of the tournament, I would tune in to some random guy, just streaming. It would just be randoms, right? And they would bring on people to talk about the game and all that. But when I was listening to them, at the time I was also listening a lot to StarCraft 2, Tasteless and Artosis and Day 9 at the time were huge, right? That was the Tastosis, that was like their god period. And so I was listening to them. I was like, that's how commentary can be done, right? The guys doing our stuff aren't good. No faults to them, but at the time it was just randoms, right? It was just guys who were just showing up to talk, but they weren't excited. They weren't like, and so I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. And so I turned my laptop on and just started streaming out of my apartment, my room, and so it just turned into a daily stream. People enjoyed it. I can't neglect to say that basically I would bitch and moan, and to the point where my friends were basically like, you know what, put up or shut up, just do it yourself if you're not happy with it. And so I was like, right, gonna stream, gonna try. Did it for a couple days. People really liked it. I really had a lot of fun, and then that's pretty much where I just stopped playing and I started casting. I'd still play, but like I wouldn't try and play or push as hard when it came to playing. I basically set everything up so that I could just cast as many of the tournaments as possible for Bloodline Champions. So and that's pretty much it.
How did you discover Counter-Strike in the process?
Counter-Strike came, well, let's say at the time in the PC bang was when I actually figured out that there was such a thing as competitive Counter-Strike. Because for me, before that in high school and middle school, Counter-Strike was just, my friend Greg would mention it every now and again, but it never really clicked. He was just like, oh yeah, because he came from France and it was like the AAA, like they were really solid at the time. He'd be like, oh yeah, these guys were really good. And so, but it never really clicked that I was just like, wait, but there's like actual tournaments and shit, right? And that wasn't until I was at that PC bang where I think it was like an IEM or something that I ended up seeing, and I was like, right, okay, so you can actually compete in CS, like, okay, because before that it was nothing but like death matching with my friends or just random maps, right? You just find random shit to do, so that was the custom maps, right? That was it. But fast forward a long time until a good studio StarCraft 2, I didn't want to be like, I enjoyed playing it and I enjoyed commentating it, but I didn't want to try and take that pro. I didn't feel like it was the game for me in the end, especially when Heroes of the Storm came out, or Heroes of the Swarm. The second expansion came out after Wings. I was just like, nope. They literally took what I found to be broken in Wings and had built on that instead of actually, breaking those things or trying to rethink how they worked, as in like broodlords with, I mean, for me, like infinite spawn units, for example, were just a dumb thing to have in an economy-based control game. I was like, every unit should have a value. You shouldn't just be able to throw broodlings everywhere. And right, because at the time I played Zerg, and that was the end game. The end goal at all times was get your spines, get your broodlords, get, all the way, and then just go and like move across the map and win, right? So I didn't like that where it was going, and I was hoping that what was it? Heart of the Swarm. That was it. Heart of the Swarm, would change that, and it didn't. And that basically killed my love for StarCraft 2. And so I tried Dota 2, but again, MOBAs, I just can't. I put like 900 hours into Dota 2, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't enjoy it. I casted Han way back when I was still in Los Angeles. I did an event in Arizona, in Phoenix, I think, where we did Han, and that was fun because I got to work with Sunspan at the time. We just did a tournament and we talked about Pepto-Bismol a lot, and it was really random, but it was a really fun, challenging thing to do. But at the time, it was much more about an academic thing for me. It was much more about how much experience can I get and how many games can I cast to get as much experience as a commentator as possible, to figure out, what it is that's my commentary and how do I apply it to different games to have fun with it. And so MOBAs never. It wasn't until at that point when I met friends in Dota 2 who also played a lot of CS. And then I was like, okay, I heard about CSGO. My friend Scriff, living in the house at the time, he had tried it a lot. I'd taken a look at it. We didn't like it when it first came out, but this was months later. The devs had put a lot more work into it. And so when I tried it with those friends, we used to stack, and I got like just addicted overnight. Like matchmaking. Once we started playing matchmaking, I was like, holy shit, I can just hit a button and I can queue and get a 5-stack like that, playing as people the same level as me. Let's go. Like that was, and yeah, from that point forward. And then obviously I was streaming that. So I was streaming CSGO, and then I had viewers who would say, like, hey, there's this match going on, why don't you cast it? And I was like, oh, I can do that, and they're like, yeah, you just get the Go TV and you broadcast the match. At the time, obviously CSGO was just nothing, right? You were getting like 1,000 viewers on a good night. And so none of the tournament organizers cared. They were just putting the Go TV out there and didn't care if you casted it. And so it was at that time where Anders and I Anders started a couple months earlier than I did, but we would basically be competing with each other every night, who could get there faster, right? Who could get the games faster and who could get the stream live earlier. Because if you started earlier and you got the games earlier, then you retained the viewership through the night. And so it was just us working, like basically at the time it was us working one against the other, until one night I was like, you know what, fuck this is retarded. Let's just, like, why don't we just cast together? So we tried it, had fun, had a 4-hour conversation after the cast where we talked about all sorts of things, realized that we had a lot in common, right? And then we just started casting with each other. That relationship is, like, I think it's nearly 4 years old now. I can't even remember. It's a long time. I've been with Anders longer than I've been with my girlfriend.
Awesome.
It's like a married couple now. It's to that point.
It's a 3-man relationship, a 3-people relationship. 3-person.
It is. Okay. Very much so. Actually, it's a bit more than that. Now it's a 5-person relationship. At the time, it was just my girlfriend, myself, Anders, and his girlfriend at the time. And then they had a kid. And so Walter was brought into the picture. And that definitely changed a lot. That when Walter came in, that was very interesting. Like, we've had a lot of very, I think, interesting experiences that have forced us to rethink how much time we can put into CS. What are we doing with our careers? How do we approach commentary? And also, how do we approach what we do outside of the game? Because, I mean, the amount of time that you can put into esports is infinite as far as I'm concerned, and especially considering you can do interviews, you can write articles, you can do all sorts of things. And so it's a craft as a whole almost when it comes to the creative side. There's an insane amount of time that you can put into it. And at the time, I was dumping every minute of my time was into CS, esports. At the time, it was Nick TV, then Room OnFire. But as soon as Walter came into the picture, it really did change quite a bit as far as, like, well, which tournaments can we do? How much can we push for? And that's kind of like, it's been one step after another until here we are today, right? It's been a very long learning experience, but but a very good one.
That's nice to hear. Okay, I'm sure you will get this the next question a lot. So, do you actually make a living from this? I mean, is this your only source of income, or do you have another job?
No, this is my only source of income, commentary. I don't actually have time, real time. I mean, it's now it's very much into just like where personally do I want to go.
Yeah.
And what do I want to do, right? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Because I can keep going with commentary because I feel like I don't know, man. This is a complicated thing. It has much more to do with myself than anything, and with Anders. You know, we've had several talks recently where we're just like, what do we, we don't feel like we're learning anything anymore, and so how do we change? What do we do, right? We've been casting together for a very long time. And I'm not saying, it's like we're breaking up or anything like that. It's not like a divorce, but it's much more about where we're looking at our commentary. We're looking at the events we do. We're looking at what we're doing right now. And we're just like, we kind of feel like we've plateaued. And so this is my only job. This is what I do. It's basically, it's what I do. It's just right now we're really trying to figure out like, okay, so this is what we do. How do we progress? Where do we take it next to get more experience and to challenge ourselves, right? Because when it comes to commentary, I feel like I've tried a lot of different things and I've gone down different roads as well as far as, it's more just about like trying to figure out where do we go next with commentary more than anything. It is my job though. It is the only thing that I do.
All right. Okay, so what has been your favorite event so far from the ones you attended and why?
For a favorite event that I've attended?
Yeah, and and why?
In terms of hype, Cologne 2015 or Malmo DreamHack Masters last year. Yeah, those were unreal. Malmo for the obvious reason that NIP won in front of their home crowd in a packed Swedish hall, and Swedes can get hype. So that was sick, but Cologne 2015 blew my fucking mind because that was I think we had like 12,000 people in there, different nationalities. It's close enough where it's easy to travel from a bunch of different places in Europe. So I talked with Polish people, with UK people, with just people from everywhere, even guys from China. Were coming over to we're there, right? It was a sick event. There was a whole French cheering section because Vacarme had stuffed a bus full of French fans and drove over from Paris, right? And so there was a whole French cheering section, just like there was a whole Virtus Pro cheering section. That was such an unreal event. And there's a picture of Moses and I, where I think it was the time that Kenny got the knife on Guardian, on Inferno, and the whole place just blew up. And us two, and I think that picture to me sums up Cologne 2015 so well because it's just us going crazy with like the bangers or whatever, right? And that's the feeling that you really got in Cologne. It wasn't the same in 2016. 2015 was really the peak, I think, of for that event for me at least. Because 2016, I don't feel like it had the same vibe. I don't think we got as lucky with the bracket. We had as exciting matches, and there weren't as many exciting stories as well at the time.
I see.
Due to the dominance, the period where Fnatic and LDLC at the time, were they envious yet? I think they were still LDLC. Shit. But right, the French super team, right? Yeah. At the time. Man, like that whole period in time was so ridiculously sick. So yeah, for me, I think that's got to be my top.
It sounds like quite an experience. I imagine if even from live, when not from home, from Twitch, you can't really feel that atmosphere. But when you are there, it's totally different. Yeah,
it was unbelievable. It was such an incredible experience because that was the first time we stuffed a studio, like a place that full of people. I mean, there's Katowice, right? But Katowice is not it just wasn't the same because here it really felt like you had core groups of fans that had all like congregated. It felt like a football match, right? Nice. Where you have like one stadium that's just red and then one stadium that's just blue, one half of it, right? And they're just cheering at each other and whistling at each other and chanting at each other. And it was just this insane feeling because you had the Virtus Pro cheering section there who would just go apeshit every chance they got.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so what was the funniest thing that has happened to you on stage so far?
man.
Yeah.
DreamHack Stockholm, maybe, when I fell on the stage.
Oh,
That's not the funniest for me, but that's probably the funniest for a lot of people.
For the rest, yeah.
On stage, yeah. That's
see.
probably, I felt like I handled that pretty well, though. I felt like, I mean, I wasn't going to start breakdancing, and I'm definitely not flexible enough to roll through it. So the fall was the fall.
Yeah.
And I totally knew it, too, because when I walked up on that stage, I'm like, I'm going to eat shit on that. Yeah. Like, I saw it coming, and then sure enough, it happens.
Yeah.
Man, but yeah, that's probably one of my best nightmares or memories.
I can only imagine. All right, so let's say that you are in charge of making some changes in Counter-Strike. What would you change?
I would kill the pistols in their current form.
Really?
Yeah.
Why so?
I would take away one-shot headshots from all pistols apart from the Deagle. Then the Deagle, even then, dancing. But the Deagle is the Deagle. If you can hit headshots accurately with the Deagle, more power to you, you know? But the Deagle should be as expensive as it is. It should, but I think that's because for me, what I've noticed, and Stuchu actually, like, he wrote an article. He has these sick these little like sound blasts that he does. They're called Chew on This. And he wrote one not too long ago where I tried to put my finger on it. I was wondering what was frustrating me so much about the game in recent times when it comes to commentary and watching CS, and he just really nailed it. Where he was just like, the CS:GO devs have handed over the development of the game to Michael Bay, where every round has got to be an explosion, right? And when every round is an explosion, or when every round is special, then none of them are, right? And I feel like pistols, the where the pistols are going, where the UMP is right now, for example. Although the MP9 is also very good, it's not used as much. I think Shoxy was the only one who really used it a lot at the time when they were trying to figure out, or when they were eventually making their way to the UMP, right? But those kinds of guns, to me, just completely kill the hype in CS. I mean, it's cool when somebody gets 3 kills with 3 headshots with the P250, sick, but not one shots, you know. I'm much more impressed when somebody who is hard ecoing and has a USPS and he gets 2 headshots, right? And that gets him the kill up close. But if you hit 2 headshots, okay, fair enough, right? But one with a P250, you invested $300 and you just killed a guy who invested $5,000, and it destabilizes the economy. The UMP destabilizes the economy further now with $600 per kill. You might as well, like, I've been playing matchmaking recently. I just buy the UMP every round. I don't even buy the AK or the M4 anymore. Like, the AK, it obviously has its benefits, one-shot headshot. So, obviously if you can get an AK on T side, you'll probably do it. But most of the time, like, I'm actually just going for the UMP because I get 1 kill with that. Boom, I got $600 in my pocket. 2 kills, even better, right? And so I know I'll just be able to buy another UMP next round, no problem. And so it's so dumb. Like, to me, it feels like it really is. It devalues the game. It takes away from the hype when every round, all of a sudden, it's back to the days of the LDCZ, and that and the Tech 9 with Olafmeister, where it was just they were so good, and fair enough, they were so good. Tech 9 with Olafmeister in particular, right? He had more kills with the Tech 9 than he did with rifles. It's just like, okay, if you're that good, but he was an outlier, right, in that case. Yes, teams were good with the Tech 9, but Olafmeister broke the game with the Tech 9. But it's just, I don't think it should be in the game. I don't think it should. You should be allowed to so easily kill around because somebody didn't check a corner, right? Yeah. You make a small mistake like that. I mean, in some cases, a big mistake, right? You go out onto a site, you're coming from a main, you don't look forklift, right? Because you're looking at NBK corner. Okay, fair enough. But should you get instantly annihilated because of that? No, or not if the guy's ecoing. Not if they have to eco. It's like, even with a USPS, he has to hit 2 headshots on you and you're down, right, at close quarters, right? Okay, so fair enough, right? 2 to 3. Okay, he got that kill because you had the chance to whip around after the first shot and kill him, or at least get that aim punch going. But the fact that P250s, 5.7s, the 5.7, nobody really talks about the 5.7 as much, but the 5.7 to me is unbelievably sick. It's so much damage to the point where it's worth it if a smoke is down and you have a 5.7 and they're coming, or somebody might be over there. Just fucking spray all 20 bullets. Just put it through the smokes. The number of times I've gotten headshots through smoke in matchmaking on Dust 2 holding long, for example. Oh, I put my smoke down. Maybe the guy's sitting on the other side of it. Why not? Oh, there we go. I got the cool. It's just like, what? Fuck off. Come on. the 5.7 does so much damage. Tech 9, CZ. The CZ might as well be a mini machine gun. They never really changed it. They just took what? Okay, now you earn $100 instead of $300. Big whoop. You're still, it doesn't matter. The whole point is that you're getting a kill. You invested 500 and you killed a guy who spent 6,000, 5,000, right? Like,
yeah, not very equal. Yeah, I see.
It's not fun.
Point.
It's not. To me, it's not fun.
Okay.
Because I feel like you should work your way up to the high tension rounds where, I mean, we used to say it a lot, right? Where it's like there was a pacing to it, where it's like they win the pistol round. There was every round of CS, right? You're used to, and I think this is why it ruins other games for CS players, is because you get used to that adrenaline spike. There's like a natural ebb and flow to a round where you're going to have the slow build up where you're getting map control, and then there's the action, there's the spike, and then you come back down again during the buy, right? And there's these natural ebbs and flows in the rounds, right? And there used to be a natural ebb and flow in the half as well, where, pistol round into rifle round one, okay, depending on who got it. Does the other team have something to buy? Do they want to take that risk? Now it doesn't feel like there's that much of a risk anymore. It's just like, if you have the money for a UMP, go for it. Even M4 Kevlar, even just like 5.7 full nades. I mean, with full nades, you can do a lot. So now it's just like it's a flat line, it feels like. Or we've come much closer to it just being a flat line. And I don't think that's good for CS. And I don't think that's good for viewership. I think that you should be able to, as a commentator, explain and build tension. Have a couple of rounds where you really start to try and delve into like, oh, what are they going to do next round? Because I can do that now in a round. I can talk about, well, in the next round they might be no, they just won this round because they not even stacked the sight. Yeah. They didn't even take a risk in the pistol. That's how you should be doing it. You stack a sight, or you go for an aggressive push somewhere, or you try and work together as a unit. You take a risk, a gamble when you're ecoing, because you know that you have to, and sometimes it'll pay off, sometimes it won't, right? But you're trying to stack the odds in your favor and stack all the pistols together. It's just even more deadly in CS:GO because those pistols, you get two guys running at you with the P250. With P250s, chances are they're going to fuck you up. You're going to get one guy maybe, but the other guy's going to get you by that time. And okay, you traded, but it still works for the side that's ecoing. Yeah. There's no point in me explaining what's going to happen in a rifle round, or it used to be that we used to say, this is a key round where a lot is riding on it. You could really build the tension, like they've ecoed 2 rounds now. This is it, their moment. Do they have something in their back pocket? Do they have a secret strategy? Do they have they figured something out? Do they know like what their opponent is trying to do? How are they going to take advantage? You could try and build all this stuff up around it and really have that round. And then there was that release where it's like, oh, my team won, yes, or my team lost that round. Fuck, they're so far behind now. You could really do a lot with that, and I think make the game really interesting and tense. And now it's just like, oh well. I mean, Nico is an outlier because he does that with the Deagle. He makes it look easy. Oh, well, Nico got another 3 kills. Okay, good, fair enough. Nico's ridiculous, right? He's an outlier over here. But when it's great. He held close with the CZ75. Not even held close. Now you got guys who are so good with it, they'll spray you down from 30 meters away. And you're just like, but that's a pistol.
Of course.
Yeah, so I think you can tell the frustration. It's not a new thing either. It's just been this way. It's just that the devs, they want to make it so that everybody has a chance. Everybody has a chance. Everything is fair. It's all good. You don't have to work at it. You don't have to practice and work on your aim and work on your positioning and feel good about investing your time into something. And really feeling like you get that reward, it's like, oh yeah, I really studied, my mistakes, and I fixed this, and I fixed this, and I fixed this, and I got better at aim too, and now I can hold that B-side Inferno, I figured it out, now it's just like, oh well, shit, I'll just buy a CZ next round, it's all good, and it's just, it takes away something from it. It makes things less special.
It would actually raise the skill ceiling as well, the skill rating generally.
Certainly. Because you have to have god tier aim like Nico if you want to make those pistols work. And fair enough. If you got the aim of Nico, good on you. Go and get those Deagle headshots. Go and mess those guys up. You're going to be a key player for your team because they know in those eco rounds they're going to put you in the positions to do the most damage if you're that good with the Deagle. That's something to work with, right? That's something that a real strength for an in-game leader. If they have somebody like Fnatic Dennis in pistol rounds with the USPS, put that guy in a place where he can have nice long-range headshot duels because he's going to hit him. He's going to get you something there, right? But when everybody can do damage with the pistols, it just makes it so it's like, well, nobody's special anymore.
Yeah, it should be more exclusive after all, yeah. So what has been your favorite version of Counter-Strike so far?
CSGO.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't sound like it, even though, that's... but I know considering the rant I just went on regarding pistols. Well, no, I'm not going to be. Like I said earlier, right? I didn't watch enough of 1.6 to really take any joy in it. And when I played it, and I played equal parts 1.6 and Source, like I said, I was deathmatching. I was playing with my friends, goofing around. I was playing custom maps. I was just fucking around, right? It wasn't anything serious for me. So when it comes to my favorite version, CSGO is the first version of CS that I really tried to get good at and understand and really delve into it. And at the beginning, I feel like there was a lot to delve into, and there still is today. But like when Tarek is like, "Oh, well, we just play default," it's just like that kind of kills me a little bit inside, because it really, if that's the solution to everything, just play default everywhere and look for aim duels, well then, fair enough. But that's where we are now. I do believe that there is the rotation. Right, that if we're coming back into that Fnatic LDLC meta of death balls and reliance on just sick aim, that eventually teams will rotate back around again, and we'll have the Astralis. Well, I mean, you kind of have that mix now, but at the time it was SK, right, who came in and said, actually, no, we're going to play a very clever, structured way, built around Fallen, built around eventually Cold, built around these guys, right? And we're just going to actually wreck you because we know how to counter, right? I feel like there's always going to be this evolution in CS, but that it's circular, that you eventually do make your way back through as people learn and adapt. So if we're going into that meta again, fair enough, but I feel like we'll make our way back out again as well.
All right. So you're in charge of putting together a Counter-Strike dream team. What are your picks?
Cold, obviously, and Taco. I want that pair from SK because Taco and Cold, they have the perfect mindsets for competitors. They are, after having, and I've spent some time with the SK guys, Fallen a little bit, Fur not so much. He's not actually, the super, he doesn't really get out too much, say. When you're at a tournament and you're at hotels, you spend a lot more time with Cold and Taco, right? Because they come down to the bar, the patio or whatever, and they socialize and whatever. So I've spent a lot of time talking with Cold and Taco. And to me, they're like, not only, I mean, Cold, obviously, it speaks for himself. Like, he's unbelievably good, like just so good. And this is something we talked about yesterday in the podcast, where it was a Counterpoints episode with Zeus, and with Zeus, who was at the time the coach for Luminosity, then SK, right? But he explained something about Cold that I found fascinating, and that really speaks to where NA is and where EU is and where the best are. And Zeus explained that Cold never fucks around in CS. He'll play matchmaking with his friends, but every time he plays matchmaking, he's doing exactly what he would do in a pro game. He treats every game of CS as if he's playing in a tournament finals. He's checking every corner, he's flashing, he's communicating, he's doing everything the way he would do it in a game, so that when game time comes, it's already ingrained in him 100%. There are no bad habits that could have formed because he fucked around in FPL to have a good time, or ESEA or whatever, or tried to make flashy clips for Reddit or whatever like that. It's just like, no. Every single time, it's built so that when it comes time to game day, it's just second nature. He never has to think about it because it's so deeply ingrained in him every step of the way. He's built just this killing machine, himself into a killing machine. There is no weakness there. There's nothing that would detract from his ability to crush your soul. Cold is a monster. Yeah. And Taco, to me, is a player who I have infinite amounts of respect for, because the shit that guy took when he first joined that roster, and nobody believed in him. Everybody said, he's just there because he's Cold's friend, like they've played together in the past, he's just coming along for the ride, blah, blah, all of this shit. And yeah, he definitely struggled. He wasn't used to playing at that level. He wasn't used to playing at that level at all. He had to learn and work so hard to become one of the key players, I think, for SK Gaming. All eyes are always on Fur, on Fallen, on Cold, for good reason. They post high scores and they get crazy frags and high impact kills and all that jazz. But you can't take it away that Taco has come through in the clutch for his team so many times to win some majors. Columbus, he had so many key rounds, key win like clutch situation rounds that made the difference, that got them that trophy. Like, and yet, it's always going to be Taco, it's always going to be Cold, etc. But for me, Taco is just like an incredible player. He's like a Zipnix, he's just like, they you need one for every team. They're so important. And Taco is just, He never stops. He works so hard. He's learned so much, and he's humble, and he never gives up. Like that mindset to me between Colt and Taco, they're like Neo. They're like players that you should aspire to, that should be role models, that you should really look up to and say, if I'm going to be a player, that's the player I want to be. I want to have that mindset. I want to have that work ethic. I want to just grind day in, day out. And so for me, it's Colt and Taco, 100% would be a part of my dream team. Taco is entry fragger, obviously, although he can lurk as well. And Colt just for being an absolute. You got to find more words. It's like it feels like if the T-Rex was still alive, that would be Colt, right? He would just destroy everything in his way. So those two.
Okay.
In-game leader, I would have Shoxy. Man, that's tough. Shoxy or Neo? That's a tough one, actually, because I'm pretty split between the two. Shoxy or Neo, Neo for the same reasons that I listed for Taco and Cold, that he's a role model. He is an incredible player, but also human being. Just when you're around Neo, you feel like you're getting this vibe of just like this guy is not capable of getting down. I don't know. Obviously he's human. He's got weaknesses like everybody, but it just feels like Neo is just like this beatific person that is incredibly humble and yet hardworking, self-sacrificing, does everything for his team, and he calls the shots for VP. But then Shoxy's different. Shoxy's like fire. Like you have a lot of respect for Shoxy, but Shoxy you have to understand is a very emotional person and a very emotional player. He has matured a lot over since the first day I met him to now. Definitely changed, definitely matured. Especially since he's taken on this in-game leader role and really accepted it as, this is my role now and I'm going to own it. Shoxy is definitely he's changed a lot and I think for the better, but he's still very fiery. He's still a very emotional, kind of player. So between the two, who do I decide on? I guess if I'm making a super team, no matter how much I respect Neo, if we're going to say that I want somebody who's going to frag no matter what, Neo can have his off games. He can have his on games. Doesn't really need to have that many on games when you have Snacks and Pasha and Bialy, right? So you don't really look to Neo too much. But I think in terms of consistency and rifling, I would go with Shoxy as my in-game leader. I think that kind of makes sense, right? He would want to be second or third in, but if you've got Cold, you got Taco. Like you could have it where, yes, he's a part of that trio, that Deathball trio. You could have Taco, Cold, and Shox working together. Although then I would actually have, as my last two players, you need an op. Shoxy and Cold can both op, but they're not main oppers. So you need an op. Would Kenny work in this roster, though? There might be too much going on there between Cold and Shox. I think Kenny could work. It's Kenny or Alu. I think actually I would go with Alu for this. Mm-hmm. I would have Alu. Because Alu is another, and I think you guys can notice like a trend where, I don't know, but I'll explain it to you. Where to me, what's I find truly interesting is not so much frags and it's more the mind, right? What's going on in a player's head and how they fit into their unit and what changes they make and how all of that is fascinating to me. And Alu to me is one of the most fascinating guys in CS:GO because he's brilliant. In game, he knows he has this ability to read situations and know exactly what he needs to do and hit the timing perfectly to do it. So if he feels like almost it's like a sixth sense where it's like, I have this opportunity to take a peek in mid, nobody else would do it. But you know what? 45 seconds left in the round. I feel like they're going to be setting up here. Takes the peek, gets the shot, backs off. And it's just like, come on, Alu. Yeah. Like it's just all like he does these things. And also, so not only in-game, right, because he's a very capable operator in game, I think one of the best. But over Guardian and Kenny, I'm picking Alu over Guardian and Kenny, boys. Hang on to your hats. But this is the reason why. It's because Alu has perseverance like no other. And I think that's the what I'm trying to outline here is that each of these players, not only are they excellent in their respective roles, but they have the mindset to keep going no matter what. And Alu has had some horrible shit happen to him in his career. I mean, being on NIP took all of the brunt there, just barrels and barrels of shit being poured on him, and then just kicked out, just like, oh, thanks for your time, peace. It's a real struggle there for Alu. Cast out into the wilds of the Finnish scene, stuck with Ents for a little bit. Tried to make it work, didn't work, but definitely at the bottom. This is where he was at the bottom, and you could tell that he wasn't as committed to Ents, and I think he was struggling internally on trying to figure out what's his next move and everything from there. But now you look at him in phase, and he just has that never give up attitude. He's always cool under pressure. He doesn't feel pressure in that sense as well. He's one of those players, I think, that no matter what happens, he's always going to put forward his best. I would have to go with Alu. Not emotional, right? Like it's a Finnish quality almost. They're difficult to read when you talk to them because they don't give off as much. It's more of a flat line, right? And so with Alu, I think that because of that flat line, he can be one of the strongest. He's not going to get ruffled. Things go against you, it doesn't matter. Alu's still going to try his hardest. So for me, that's a quality that is very difficult to find and is truly something that makes a player stand out. So I would have Cold, Taco, Shoxy, and Alu as the op, stable op, with the option to have 2 other AWP players.
One to go.
Xyp9x. And Xyp9x, because he has that similar, he has insane clutch. So you'd have 4 players. I mean, basically every player on this team at this point is excellent at their role, excellent in the clutch. Taco, Cold, Shox, all these guys have got ice water in their veins. So I mean, they don't buckle when it's a 1v2 or a 1v1 clutch situation. Time is ticking down. They don't make mistakes. So Xyp9x would be there because Xyp9x, I think, could be one of those all-around players that Shox would be able to place wherever you need somebody in particular. Xyp9x has shown it in the past time and time again that he will be that guy, similar to NBK. And I kind of put both of those players up on the same pedestal, just that we've seen more from Xyp9x lately than we have from NBK. But NBK has been going through some lots of rough times with the French scene, the struggle, envy, not working out, all this sorts of stuff, right? And so I think that's impacted his level. So if we want to go right now where it is, I think I would go with Xyp9x because the guy is indestructible. He's unbelievable. How good he is in the clutch, retake scenarios, being willing to put himself in shitty positions to benefit his teammates. I think Shox could ask a lot of him, and he would definitely deliver. And so you could have quite a bit of versatility, I think, with this roster, in terms of positioning and your available strats. If you want to 1-3-1 or just go full death ball 4-1, or you could have quite a few. And in the default, you can count on everybody to get their kills. So yeah, that would be my super team.
Yeah, that would be quite a lineup to compete. What are your goals for esports this year with OnFire, both OnFire or personally?
My goal, it's a very interesting time for me right now personally. I've learned a lot about myself over the past 6 months or so. I had a couple of losses in my family and my close circle, and at the end of last year. And so I've been dealing with that, and it's been very, very interesting, a challenge, very, very much so, because I'm having to. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that go through your head in these sorts of situations. You have to question. You start questioning everything. You really do start to just. Is this what I want to do? Who am I as a person? What interests me? What am I doing with myself? What am I doing with my life? Am I having the impact on the people around me and my life that I want to be having? Am I capable of changing? What am I made of? All these sorts of questions are going through your head, and so it makes it very difficult to focus on mundane tasks like work. Or it makes you question, the value of your work and what you're doing. Is it worth it? That's been these past I'm not through it yet. I'm still processing a lot.
Takes time.
It takes time. It definitely takes time. I've never had I had a friend who passed when I was 18, but we had fallen apart. Basically, we had, it didn't hit me as hard because at the time where I was in my head, and where we were with our relationship, et cetera, a number of factors made it so that there was quite a buffer there. And so it was just like, oh, fuck, definitely felt it. But nothing like this. One of my closest childhood friends passed, and my brother passed. And so, and those were two people that I was very close with. And so it's a totally different ballgame, right? Totally different beast. And I've never gone through this before. And so, at a time where and this is where you start to really question everything, because this is esports is not a forgiving industry to work in. You're not allowed to have time off. You don't take time off. You grind as much as possible, especially as a commentator, because a game only lasts so long, and at its peak, it can go, and where it's in its growth phase. Now I feel like we're not in the growth phase so much anymore. We're at the plateau of CS, and if there is going to be growth, it's going to be incremental and small. But it's still not a point where it's like I can, go on a year-long hermit trip, right? And and I don't think that that's the right solution either. So because I thought that was the right solution for a while. I thought that I needed to disappear, or no, I mean, not even that. I thought that if I just worked, I would be fine. And I could just, and if I focus on my work and if I focus on that, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But what I quickly realized, not as quickly as I would have liked, obviously, because shit hit the fan a few times. Things definitely got tense with Room on Fire guys, with commentators and everything. Because what you realize is that dealing with death, right, is that it makes you realize you have no control over anything. Actually, you may think day to day that you have control over your life and over the people around you, and control in a sense where it's just like, this is stable. This is where it is. I'll wake up the next morning and you'll still be there, right? That sort of thing. But when it happens, you really realize, oh shit, you don't have any control over anything. Actually, I could walk out the door and get hit by a car, and that would be it. There's no control. And so what I realized unconsciously, what I was doing is that I was trying to find control somewhere, because I felt like perhaps I was losing control of my career. Things were moving in ways that I wasn't used to. There's the natural evolution of a game and the industry. More commentators, more analysts, people come in, things change. And so there was a lot of change, in esports, there's always a lot of change. You got to be quick on your feet. And I wasn't quick because I lost a lot of time. And so I was trying to, find control where I could. And obviously that's if I'm looking into a producer's room and saying, hey, maybe we should do it this way, it's not my responsibility. It's not my job. And I'm just going to piss him off if I do that. It's not my job to talk about graphics or talk about, are we using videos enough? Are we doing this enough? Are we doing that enough? Blah, blah, blah. It's like talk about it after the tournament, Semmler. You don't talk about it at the tournament. And so there was a lot of, arguments with co-commentators, arguments with those guys, where you have such a short fuse. Like I'm not a fucking saint. I was always an emotional person, very driven person, right? Confident, everything I do, confident. That's what I've said in the past. To the point of arrogance, I always believed that I could be the best at what I do, and it all just got flipped, right? And so I was spinning out, and so it's almost like luckily we had quite a bit of time at the beginning of this year where there was some downtime, no tournaments, and so I was able to spend time at home, and I spent a lot of time. I got lucky in the sense that because the major was in the United States, I could spend a lot of time with my family, because I would basically, whenever there was an event happening in the United States, I would go to that event, and then instead of flying back to Sweden, I would fly to Los Angeles and be with my family there, and spend 3-4 a week, and spend time there, but then eventually come back to Sweden, and next event, same thing. But there was a like 3 weeks, 4 weeks period. I can't remember when, like March, I guess. It was very quiet, March was quiet. So that was a period where had to figure out a lot of shit. And I took it out on people that definitely shouldn't have taken it out on. You start lashing out at people, because you realize what you're doing as well. That
but
deep down you're just irrational, but it's stuff that you have to work through. And so when it comes to like what I want to do with my career and what I want to do this year and all of that, it's very much I feel like it's more important right now. I also had I had a few things on my table that would have really changed where my career was going, and big decisions. And I was sitting here and I was like, I can't make this decision right now. I don't know. And if I take that decision, if I say yes, then I'm just going to focus on the work. But am I fit to focus on that work right now? I don't know. And stuff like that, where I'm just, I'm not sure. And so right now, where I am right now is, or my goal right now is to continue, or rather to find some variety. And so I'm going to be working with gamers for the next 3 weeks. So we have some downtime right now. We have Anders and I personally, not the others. But ESL have changed up their strategy when it comes to commentators. They're using a lot of in-house commentators right now and pro league guys. And so, for example, Sydney is coming up. They're using the pro league commentators and some in-house commentators to handle that, as well as some local talent. So Anders and I won't be at Sydney, right? And so there's quite a break that's coming up, and the timing worked out perfectly because gamers came and asked me, can you host the show? And I was like, I haven't hosted a show in like 4 years. And I used to really enjoy it. I think it's a very challenging thing to do, hosting, because you have to juggle a lot of things at the same time and be quick and funny and all that. And I was like, you know what? That's perfect. That's exactly what I want right now. I'm not going to, because like I said earlier, right? Anders and I, we've had conversations where we feel like, we're not learning enough doing commentary right now. And so we're trying to find things to stimulate us. Yeah. And I was like, perfect timing. Gamers comes up. It's going to be a very difficult job, long, 18 days straight, in a very peaceful place, it's up on the north side of Stockholm, over by Arlanda, but it's out in the woods next to a lake. Very peaceful place. And so I'm like, this is perfect. Very peaceful place, so I can have my time where I can go and walk and unwind and just think. And then I've got a challenge in the job itself where it's going to force me to relearn and revive some parts of me that I haven't used in a long time, such as hosting. So I'm looking for projects like that. Still doing the commentary. We're going to be, like the majors right around the corner. Definitely focusing on that. There's that whole player break that's going to happen in August, but after that, there's going to be all the leagues picking up again and quite a few lands, to close the year out. So still definitely not going away from the commentary. We actually, if we look at it objectively, we actually have a very busy year coming up. It's just started slow, but we actually have quite a bit going on in the second half of the year. So, I mean, not giving up on the commentary, but I think right now I'm trying to figure out how to focus and find my center again and find my confidence again, personally. So I'm trying to focus more on me and my life right now rather than the synonym, because for me, for the past 5 years, my work has been synonymous with my life, right? It's just that's what I've done for the past 5 years. Every waking moment I've spent on esports, and these past 6 months or so have been forcing me to consider maybe that there's something more than just work. Maybe shouldn't be as conscientious. Try and focus more on hobbies, like you say. It kind of annoys me that when you ask me, right, do you have any hobbies? I don't. I guess finding clothes and stuff like that could be a hobby in a way, but which is what you can do when you travel, right? And again, it's like all of my hobbies are tied around things that I can do while working esports, and so. Like over the next 6 months, my plan is actually to find a way to be structured with the casting to the point where it's like do maybe one event a month, maybe two, right? But to still have that 2 to 3 weeks at home where I can have my hobby and I can find things to do outside of esports, because esports is a tricky thing, man. I don't kid when I say that people are addicted to drama in esports, because it is that.
Yeah.
You get so deep into it. There's so many layers to esports because it's such a small pond that we're working in. It's fucking tiny. Don't listen to all those numbers about billions and billions of dollars. Yeah, where are those billions and billions of dollars? Like, why aren't we making these billions and billions? Like, we're not. Stop lying to everybody. You're fluffing your numbers so that you can go to the outside investors and fuck them over and take their money. And then what are they going to think? They're going to think, oh, well, fuck this esports thing. Like, we got ripped off massively here. Fuck that. And they're going to tell all of their friends too. And you're only going to make it more difficult for the future. You're actually, in the short term, yeah, great, you're making your skrill. But in the long term, you're screwing over everything that we're all working for here. So, well, okay, off the soapbox. But esports, there are so many goddamn layers to it that you can get so invested and wrapped up in every little bit of drama, especially when you work as talent, as a commentator, as an analyst, as a YouTube content creator. You feel like you constantly have to have your finger on the pulse. You constantly got every little bit. Oh shit, Swag, what did he say? Oh, what's going on with Shroud right now? Oh, he's playing other games on his stream. Shit, I should write an article about that. It's like, what? No,
not healthy. Yeah, after all.
It's not healthy. You get so obsessed, and especially if you create content, you feel like you got to be on top of everything. You got to release content. You got to stay current. You got to keep the horde entertained, because if you don't, they're going to go to this guy who is. And if that's how you feel like you're content and that's what you want to do, okay. Right now I'm trying to decide, is that what I want to do? Or can I find a happy medium? Is there a balance somewhere? Or is it time for me to change? I don't know. So I'm very much in a time of contemplation, of trying to figure it out while staying active, but really trying to figure out what it is that I need for myself.
Yeah, it's the best thing to do, I think, after all. And I totally know how you feel. I lost my father this December, so I totally know the feeling.
Fuck, dude, sorry.
And yeah, it's something you have to go through. The mourning process is you can't skip it, anyways.
And this is this is what's fascinating, is that we've done away with that. It feels like we've done away with that whole process of mourning. It used to be that, you'd wear a black armband or something. It'd be like, hey, I'm not, totally cool right now. Yes. So cut me some slack if I'm out of line, right? Or right? Or tell me if I'm out of line or whatever. But here's a warning real quick that, shit's not cool right now, and I'm trying to figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't do that anymore, right? And we're so jacked into social media and everything. When I posted the picture of my tattoo, I was so torn up about that. I didn't know if I should talk, if I should actually express, what's going on in my head, or should I just keep it, keep just saying, oh, it's just a tattoo because it looks pretty. It doesn't mean anything, right? How much do you expose? How much do you show? Because we also happen to in esports in particular, in competition, any little excuse is seen as just that, an excuse, right? Anything that goes wrong, it's like, oh, you're making excuses. You should be stronger. You should be tougher. You should be more focused. You should be more driven. You should be more, right? Yeah. And it sucks for the players. And I'm guilty of it. I've said that in the past. It's like, don't make excuses. Whatever happens, happens. You keep going. And that fucked me up so much in my head. Where when I was dealing with this shit initially, I was just like, fuck it, it's an excuse. I just gotta I gotta deal with it. I gotta handle with it. I just gotta keep working. If I keep working, I'll make it through. I'll make it through. Right? I'll do what I need to do and just keep going. And that's not that eventually leads to tense situations.
Yeah, they have to walk a mile in your shoes to know the feeling. So yeah, difficult for anyone to understand.
Well, everybody handles it differently, right? Yeah. I mean, they're fair, right? If work is the answer for you, fair enough. I'm just saying that right now, what I've learned over the past 6 months is that I need to find a different way. So yeah, it is an interesting thing. Like I've even contemplated having the black armband, but it feels so out of place now. You don't, or what was it? I don't want to say something wrong here. I think it was in the Chinese culture, right? Where it was 30 days of mourning, black for 30 days. Or, I mean, this has been throughout different cultures historically, right? But cultures, all sorts of ways of just, saying, by the way, for this next year, don't fuck with me, right? Just let me do my thing. So it's a complicated thing, man. It really is.
Definitely. So do you have any advice or thoughts you'd like to share with your fans or other aspiring casters that want to be like you, or hosts or commentators?
If you're gonna do it, you have to love it. Then it's that simple. If you're going to treat esports, okay, if you want to become a content creator, a journalist, a commentator, analyst, any of these things that are a part of esports, right, on the show side of things and on the content side of things, if you don't love what you do, you're never going to make it. Because, and by love, I mean that you're willing to do what I did, which is move within a week, throw all of your shit in 2 bags, spend all your money on a plane ticket to the other side of the world, and just fuck off. And whether it works, it works. If it doesn't, you're fucked, right? That's where you need to be if you're going to, and you need to have timing, you need to have all sorts of things, but you just have to be honest with yourself and accept that if you're going to go down that route, there's going to be a lot of sacrifice, and it's going to have to be worth it. You're going to have to be like, yeah, I'm more than happy to pay that because this is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. This is exactly what I want to do right now. And so everything else can go over here while I focus on that. If that's where you are right now in your head when it comes to creating content or talking about CS or any game, LOL, doesn't matter. This is for any esports, right? If you want to get into this, you have to be willing to admit to yourself that you're going to give up a lot so that you can find success here. And you may give up a lot and you may not even find success. I mean, I got incredibly lucky. I put the time in, yes, and you have guys like this is such a complex one as well, right? Where it's just like you have guys who say, oh, well, I just worked hard, right? And it's just like, yeah, okay, anybody who got deep and successful, right, worked hard, but there is also an element of luck, I think,
of course, yeah,
of just being in the right place at the right time. And for Anders and I, it was being in the right place at the right time, being able to stream every night, not having any obligations, not having school or work or anything else, just being able to fully commit. And so we were lucky in a sense. We put in the hard work, don't get me wrong. We fucking sacrificed everything for it. But at the same time, you have to be in that right place. And so, if you want to get in, just never give up. Just work and work and work and okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say never give up. It's perfectly all right to give up for the right reasons. If you feel like it's not for you, it's fine. Go and do something else. Don't feel like, oh, I'm just looking for excuses. You'll know, it'll be there. Just be honest with yourself,
of course,
and work on it. But yeah, I would say it's just like, get ready to work, because it's a lot of sacrifice, travel time, work. You're going to miss out on holidays. You're going to miss out on family holidays. You have to be willing to just give up on everything. Yeah. So there you are. If that's fine, I hope to see you. I hope to see you in the tournament soon.
Yeah. And since you're into reading, it perfectly suits to Charles Bukowski. So you want to be a writer? Have you read that? It suits.
I love Bukowski. The problem is that I've never read a book of his like through and through, or like a book of his poems or anything through and through. But I always had or not me, but my parents had what was the book called? Whatever. It was a book of him and his poems, and I love reading in the restroom.
Yeah.
Whatever, you're doing your business. Are you just going to sit there and stare at the wall? No, you're going to read some poems. Bukowski is even better. And so would read through that. And so, but he's got some fire quotes. Like that guy was sick. What was it? Find what you, one of them was, find what you love and let it kill you. I think it was was one of his quotes. And that's actually, if we're going to just, I went on a long-winded, advice, right? To if you're starting to start, but really it sums up to that, right? Like, find what you love and let it kill you. And also, if you're going to write, you have the fire in you to write, right? It's it's something that you're just going to have to do, and you have to get out there. Right. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, nothing. It's just if it doesn't, like Bukowski says, if it doesn't come bursting out of you, don't do it. I mean, it has to.
Go. That's it. It's Bukowski was sick, man. He highly recommend going to read his stuff. He was way out there. Yeah. He had some crazy ideas. I've read what did I read? I read one of his books, but I forget the title. It was years ago. Yeah. But he was so fascinated with like women, booze, just like women. Really, really like the dames. And so a lot of his books, obviously have that in the themes, and it gets pretty raunchy, it gets pretty fun. But that guy was fascinating. Hunter S. Thompson as well. Total maniac, but incredibly sharp. I mean, all right, like example for Hunter S. Thompson, right? The way the guy learned how to write was that he used to type out word for word Hemingway novels so that he could better understand how Hemingway built his phrases and built his books and how he wrote. And that's an example, right? If you feel like you're willing to watch, or I don't know, play every single one of Device's positions, day in, day out. I don't know. That's an example for CS, right? But like that's the kind of like thing that you're just gonna have this drive. You're gonna get that idea, like, right, it's a 1,000-page book. That's it. I'll rewrite that word for word, or I'll type that out word for word. Like that's what these guys do. Like, but those are obviously the highest, right? They are at the peak, the summit. It's hard to use them as an excuse because I don't think that I certainly am not capable of of anything of that sort, right? They're just gods, right? So you can look up to them and try and strive. But I guess that's the thing where there was another. What was the other saying? I mean, it's along the lines of strive for the stars, and you might not make it, but you'll end up somewhere good. Like always aim for as high as you possibly can. And I think that's actually the trap that people fall into, is because in order to get that dopamine to get that little dopamine hit, you give yourself a challenge or a goal that's really easy to hit, so you feel good about yourself. You got it. Yeah. But then you have to gear yourself up again for the next challenge or goal. What I think is much more reasonable, or depends on how you look at it, but you need to set yourself goals that are almost impossible, right? So strive to be like Hemingway or Thompson or these greats, the gods, because you might not make it, but at least you will constantly be bettering yourself, and wherever you end up will be
much higher than you would expect. Yeah,
exactly, much higher than you would have if you'd set yourself a nice, easy, safe goal, right? So those are nice, those are easy. It feels good to get one every now and again, but really, how good do you feel when you achieve it? I got a headshot with the P250 because I was standing around the corner. He didn't look left. He looked right first. Good for you, bro. Good for you. Now compare that to when you get a double dink headshot up close on the guy with a USPS. Or even not up close, but if you fucking wreck a guy when you're hard ecoing with your pistol, USP, P2000, I don't care, and you wreck a guy, compare that feeling to when you get one with the P250 and tell me which feels better.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think it's time to proceed to the serious part of this interview. So you're making a sandwich. You have to choose your favorite ingredients. Go.
Oh, shit.
I believe it will be some French stuff in there, no?
There are some. This will go back to my childhood, right? When I used to go and visit my, I was very lucky that I was able to go and visit my grandparents in France when I was young, right? And this was still at a time when you could travel as a kid alone. So I was 6 when I first went, and then I was lucky enough to go for like 5 more years after that, right up. No, even longer. I think I was like 12 or something when I stopped going. But my favorite snack was always Gascon pâté, right? And you can get it in Arcachon, and it's almost like now that I know what cat food is. Now that I know what cat food is, because I've had cats in LA, it's almost like cat food, but it's fucking unreal tasty, right? And so, okay, here's what you do, right? You get a baguette, put some butter, put some Gascon pâté, and don't be a pansy, and don't good slices of Gascon pâté, like really get in there. You're not trying to be healthy here. You're trying to have a good sandwich. So Gascon pâté on there. Maybe just a little bit of ham if you want to get in there, jambon, just a little bit, and some cornichon. Close that up, and there you go. You're on the beach. You're at the beach, and you thought you were wise enough to think, I might get hungry at the beach later. I tell you, you're never going to have a better day at the beach than when you thought ahead, made one of those sandwiches, and brought it with you to the beach. Then you're the happiest man in the world. So there you go.
Awesome. Sounds delicious. Okay, so let's say that you can spend a day with any person on the planet. Any person. Who's your pick?
I've had that question before.
He's definitely not Trump, so...
I mean, I'm fascinated by him. Not in the sense that I'm actually like studying him very closely. I just sense I get the idea that this is obviously my it's tough. It's tough when it comes to politics, and it's tough when it comes to big business. And when people say, "Oh, but they're different," I don't see it that way. I think that Trump is making it very obvious and very clear that they're actually the same. Look at what Le Pen is doing over in France right now. It's the same thing. It's just they're running a big business, and so Trump has just made it blatantly clear, and Ben is doing the same thing over in France, where they're just like, we're treat it the same way, and we'll get the same results. So look at him and talking about ratings and whatnot. That's all it is. The debates in the States, god damn, man, it was just TV. It might as well have been like, it's some of the best reality TV that's ever been, because they just got ratings through the fucking roof. Do you need to honestly have 30, 40-foot long LED panels waving the flag behind the guys who are about to talk about education in the States? Probably not. I think it would be better suited if you wanted to actually have an intellectual discussion and get to the point and figure out what somebody is about.
Of course.
Is maybe something more along the lines of fucking an oak table in a completely black room, 3 lights, and a few chairs, not leather chairs. We don't want them to get too comfortable here. They're in the hot seat. Should be, a couple of wooden backed chairs. And then we'll hear what they actually have to say. That's, no distractions, no bullshit, no ad breaks, no nothing. Just let them talk. And then but the problem is that doesn't create ratings. That doesn't create buzz or hype or drama or any of that shit that CNN ran on for the past fucking 9 months more, and that they're still running on today. For example, CNN is just one, but everybody else is doing the same. I mean, shit, Sweden, they won't shut up about it. Swedes have it so good that they have to go elsewhere for their drama. And so, obviously they're going to talk a lot about the States. But point being, that's not, I'd be interested to spend a day with him just to figure out, or just to figure out how he really played, and how he really thinks about the whole thing. But that's never going to happen. I'm not going to waste my day on that. Okay. It's not Trump. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough when you want to really delve into it. I think it would be Hitchens.
I believe you would choose a writer.
I think it would be Hitchens.
Yeah.
Just because. Yeah, I think it would be Hitchens just because it would be absolutely fascinating just to sit and have a conversation with that guy because of his wit, how sharp he is. Talk about outliers. There's one. I mean, unbelievable mastery of the English language. It's just unreal. Him and Stephen Fry, right? Mm-hmm. You listen to debates that they had, that debate that they had in tandem together where they just completely wrecked that archbishop or whatever the hell and that other chick, whatever. It was just like how they expressed themselves. Maybe when I'm like 80 and I've tried for 50 years, I'll be able to express myself that well, right? So, no, it would be Hitchens. I've read a lot of his books. I've listened to most of his debates. I'm for a while there. I was just so fascinated with him. So I would definitely spend a day with him. I don't think that would be a day gone to waste whatsoever.
I really hope you do someday. Okay.
Well, no. I mean,
yeah. I mean, either here or in the.
Yeah, right. That it would have to be. I mean, dude, it wouldn't be a bad afterlife if you can sit there with a bottle of the Johnny Walker Black and a few packs of smokes with Hitchens. I think that would be a pretty good day or afterlife.
It would still be a day, even here or the afterlife. Okay. So let's say that you're a castaway on a remote, isolated island. You have to choose one Counter-Strike personality to help you survive. Who would it be?
Damn. I would have said Bear Grylls, but he definitely doesn't. He played real life CS as far as we know. But a CS personality?
Yep.
Right. That's interesting.
Would you take Anders?
No, I would take Duncan. I would take Thorin with me.
Why?
Actually, no, that might be... No, that actually... Well, I don't know. It's a question of like, do I want to survive or do I want to eventually end it all because I just can't listen to him anymore? I don't know.
You want to survive.
No, yeah, you want to survive. Duncan would be fascinating because you'd never be bored with Duncan. There would always be something to talk about. But the thing is that he would be doing the majority of the talking. So
yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, Duncan would be a good choice. Actually, I do pick Duncan because you'd never be bored with Duncan. There would always be something going on, and also extremely resourceful, hardworking guy. So I feel like if we had to start a fire, he'd be a good guy to have there to figure it out or help figure it out or work at it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'll take that. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Do you have any final shout-outs?
Well, shout-outs to my. Fuck, man. So many people to shout out to. I haven't done an interview like that where it's just like, do you want to do a shout out to anybody? And it's true, actually. There's like so many people to shout out to on a daily basis and that you often forget about as well. Just everybody in the CS scene. We'll keep it that way so that I don't actually miss anybody, right? So to everybody in the CS scene, esports scene as a whole, and to the community, not the community as a whole, the individuals in the community. Shout outs to you guys, because I love it, right? You know, it's like I love meeting fans in person because you get to talk with them. I love, you know, like just meeting in person and getting to hang out together and chat for a few minutes or even longer, you know, just like I love the individuals of the community. Super sick guys. Never met an asshole in the bunch, right? The community, though, as in the groupthink mass, like, no, you guys can go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, that's so good.
That's no, like once you get into a group and you have anonymity thrown in, Jesus, the poison that gets thrown out, fuck off. Yeah. But the individuals, I love you all. So thanks, everybody. Hope you guys didn't find this to be too boring an interview. No. Hope I was able to help out a few people. But yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for having this interview with me. It was a real honor to have you here today. You can all follow Semmler, Auguste, on his Twitter handle. It's written right under his name, that way. Okay. All right. So thank you very much once again. I do wish the best for you for the next leagues and everything. So that's all. Somewhere in the screen you will see my subscribe button appear. If you enjoy those interviews, please do subscribe. And yeah, somewhere. You can see it somewhere here. I don't know the place.
Click that fucking button and go and watch the other shit on this guy's channel. It's sick.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Till the next time, everyone. See you. Bye.